So today we're going to be building this Harley Benton JA Jazzmaster kit guitar. It's going to be a long one. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Guitar Manifesto channel. Hope you're all doing well. So finally we're at a stage now where we can build this Harley Benton JA guitar kit. I bought this around December time. I was going to build it and then we moved house and progress has just gone out the window. I've had to build a workshop, so much to do, but we're at a stage now where we can crack on with this. So these kits are currently retailing for £75. I bought this just for Christmas last year and I paid a bit less than that. I think it was around £66. Now in the kit you get everything you need to make the guitar. It's all good to go. Even the wiring is all pre-wired, it's all plug and play, so there's no soldering. You literally just got to screw stuff together unless you want to put a finish on the guitar. Now these come with a wood sealer, so if you want to put some stains on it you need to get rid of that seal, you need to sand it back. If you want to paint on it, it's good to go. Primer, paint, top coat, job done. The neck is a pretty sweet looking neck. It's got a composite fingerboard, got them perloid block inlays binding around the edge of the neck, but the headstock is this funny shape, but this is so you can cut your own headstock. I know a lot of people moan about these, but you can get more of a detailed, customised headstock to your choice. Personally, I'm going to go for a sort of classic Jazzmaster shape. So before we even start building this guitar, we've got quite a bit of preparation to do. My particular guitar, I'm going to go with stains and finishing oils. It's something that I've not done in the past. I have stained a few guitars, but you know, not very good. This was a long time ago, before YouTube. And so from Crimson Guitars, I've bought some Lavender Pastel Stain. This is obviously a take on Fender's pastel colours. They do other colours, but I thought a nice little purple looked pretty good. We've got like a penetrating oil, so we'll give it a few coats of that, and then I've got some high build finishing oil. In the past I have used true oil, but I fancy giving this a shot, so a few coats of each. You can go as mad as you like with it. If you want to put more coats on, you can get a really good shine, but I like quite a natural finish, so I want to see the wood grain showing through. I want to just have a nice satin sheeny sort of finish, so that's what we're going to go with today. Again, the headstock, we're going to have to cut that out. So I've got a template for the headstock. We're going to draw around that, and what I normally do with these is draw around the headstock with my template, and I get the bulk of it cut off with jigsaw. Not the ideal way, but I like to do stuff that people can have easily laying around the house, and then I'll smooth it all off with a Dremel tool with a little round sander on it. I've done a video of that before and it did come out really good. For the body, again, it's got a sealer on it, so I'm going to have to go over that with a little sander. I've got a little mouse sander. I'm probably going to start with some 80 grit, work my way up to sort of probably about 600 grit, but do it in stages just to get that layer of sealer off, and then we'll be good to stain it. So anybody who's ever painted a guitar or sanded a guitar in their life will know these bits are not fun. No. So the staining process is going to take a few days. You've got to put the dye on, let it dry a few hours, put some more on, let it dry sort of overnight. Put some oil on it, let it dry again, you know. Okay, so fast forward a few days. I didn't want to show the entire process because it would have been like an hour and a half video. It does take quite a while, but we are where we want to be with the guitar now. With the colour, I went for this Crimson guitar, stunning pastel lavender. I'll put in a link in the description for all the stains and oils that I used. But I went for about 3 coats of the pastel colour, and I wanted this to have a sort of natural, little bit of a worn look, but kind of transparent, so you could see the wood grain showing through, and I think it's actually come up really nice. So yeah, 3 coats of that. You put it on with a bit of tissue or a bit of cloth, just blob some stain onto the tissue and or cloth, and then sort of wipe into the body. Make sure you don't start from the edge, because that's when you get drips, but put it on a little bit at a time so you get a nice even coat. Obviously flip it round, do the other side, that kind of thing. I let that dry for about 24 hours, and then I come back with the Crimson penetrating oil. This stuff, you literally pour it on, rub it in with some cloth or tissue. I found cloth was the best thing. Rub it in until you saturate it. So what I mean by that is till the guitar sort of stops absorbing it. Let it sort of dry for about 10 minutes. When it starts to feel a little tacky, go over with some tissue and give it a good wipe down. You've really got to give it some elbow grease, rub it in, and you can sort of feel it smoothing off, shining up. The good thing with a tissue is it acts as like an abrasive, like a fine sandpaper. So all the time you're rubbing it in, you're also giving a nice smooth finish. Now if you want to do what I did and get that sort of worn in look, as you can see, you have to go extra hard until it just starts really biting in, and I sort of went through a little bit of a layer of it, which I wanted to do. The penetrating oil, heavy coat first. It's kind of like 2 coats. You really want to go on until it stops absorbing in. It sort of sits on the top. Again, let it dry so it goes tacky, rub it in. Come back about 4 or 5 hours later, same process again, but you'll find that it won't absorb in as much. You sort of reach that saturation point. Then I let it dry overnight. The next day I went in with this high build penetrating oil. Same process again, let it soak in. When it sort of saturates, got a bloody fly in it. Yeah, get up there. Come on. So the next stage was using the high build oil. Same process again, pour it on, rub it in till you reach that saturation period. Let it dry for about 10 minutes. Go over with a cloth, give it as much as a shine as you want. Again, let it dry for about 4 hours. Same process again, maximum 3 times a day. Now I've done this for about, I don't know, 3-4 days, so it's had plenty of coats, and I've really got to a point where I like the finish now. It's got a nice sheen to it. You can see in the light there. So yeah, I think that's a pretty cool finish, nice colour. Something a bit different. When I first stained it, it was like all uniform colour. I'll put a picture up now, but I just think it looked a little bit too clinical. It's like a nice Parma Violet colour, and I do like them sweets. I know a lot of people don't, but yeah, I really dig that colour. Something you don't see very often, but I think that is a awesome finish. The neck, again, I did the same thing with the headstock, and also on the back I was using some of that penetrating oil, then the high build oil, and it does have a nice sheen to it. I was going to stain the back, but I thought I quite like as it looks, so we'll go with that. But yeah, there's the headstock. So we've got the matching headstock with the Parma Violet lavender colour. I think that looks pretty sweet. So with the kit taut pickguard, I think that's going to look pretty darn good. One job I want to do, but I ain't going to do it now because of time, I'll lose another day else, is I've got some cavity paint. Again, I bought it from Crimson. I would put it in now, but like I say, I'll lose another day of messing around, and I really want to get this video done just before the Easter weekend. So once I've built all this, I'll come back and I'll do the cavity painting. Let's get the rest of it assembled. A pre-assembled pickguard that's all pre-wired. So you've got a little connector there for the neck pickup, connector there for the bridge pickup. So this little black wire that feeds through a little hole there and just pokes out into where this little bridge pole piece goes in. So you just want the bare bit of wire touching that to ground off your electrics onto your bridge. Right, so what we want to do now is we need to drill the holes into the body for the pickups. As you can see there, there's two little holes, and what you do when you've got the pickup in place, you need to drill some little guide holes so the long screws and the spring go into the body. So you put the spring in first, put the pickup on, and then put the screw through, and that will help be able to adjust the height of the pickup. So what we're going to do for now is plug these pickups in. So yeah, each pickup's got a letter on the back. So N is neck pickup, B is the bridge pickup, and then we need to just plug them into the wiring harness. So this one I believe will be neck pickup, and this one bridge pickup. So you need to put this together just so you can get an idea of where the pickups will need to be with the pick guard on. So don't worry too much about the wiring being a bit messy at the minute, as long as you ain't catching anything or screwing through any wires. So just put a few screws in for now, just to make sure everything lines up alright. Okay, so that's where your pickups want to go. Now we're ready to screw. Just take these plastic covers off, you don't need them. Now hold the pickup straight and flush, and then just go through, not too far, probably about, I don't know, centimetre, if that. It's just a little guide hole. That should be enough. Alright, so now we get the pick guard back off, so we know that's good to go. So when you've got the screws through, put the springs on. There should be 4 in the set, and then we'll have a bit of fun lining these holes up. So get them in, lined up with your little guide holes, and then screw them down. Pickups are in. Now we need to feed this little ground wire through. Just make sure you've got nothing in your way. That goes through there. So I've just pulled the little ground wire through there. Just need about an inch or so sticking through. Kind of tidy your wires up a little bit so nothing's catching. You could cable tie your cables together just to make life a bit easier, but I like to make things difficult for myself. Pick guard on. So what I'll do now, like I did before, just put a couple of screws in, just make sure everything lines up. I don't need to put every screw in right now in case you've got problems with electrics, things like that. Just makes it easier to get back under the hood. But in terms of all the screws lining up, not too bad. That one is miles out, that one's miles out, and possibly that one, but we'll see. You also, when you put your neck on, you want to make sure nothing catches around this neck pocket. So again, leave this loose because you may need to trim away a little bit of that. Pick guards on, pickups are on. So next thing we need to do is get the little bridge pieces. So you've got the stop tail pieces which go there, just to hold your little stop tail on that way. That's what your strings go through, and you've got the actual bridge itself which sits on them ones with your little adjusters. So you need to take these little adjuster parts out, and then we need to give these a little bit of persuasion, get them into them holes with a hammer. Actually ain't too bad, so let's push them in hand tight for now. And don't forget about this one, it's very important, that's your ground. Remember to push it down a bit, just enough so you've got the wire contacting the metal. Right, so when you hammer these down, be very careful, make sure you hit them completely flush to the body, you know, flat, so you don't split the wood. Just make sure it's going in nice and even. That's him. Yeah. So you want your intonation screws facing that way. See how well this lines up. Oh yeah, perfect. And when we set the guitar up, we'll adjust but the heights of these. I like these quite low to get a nice break angle, but these little slotted screws are what adjusts the action of your strings. Oh yeah, how's that for a fit? Oh, is she snug? No, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're good. Oh, it's looking like a guitar now. Nice. So I think what we do now, quickly before we start messing with the neck, is plug it in, and just to make sure we get some noise, no hissing, and all the switching works before we go any further. Okay, so let's see if she works. So neck. Oh yeah. Yep. And both. That's good. Bridge. Oh yeah. No buzzing, all the electrics work. Let's get on to the neck. Right, so I think what we do now while we're here is put all these screws in, and before we move this out the way, take these off, because if you've not got strings on, these are going to fall off and cause some damage. Right, so next job is we're going to move on to the neck. So basically you get a tuner, you get a little washer, you get a nut, and you get a screw for each tuner. So what we need to do is basically put the tuner in, put the washer in, put the nut on, and then we screw it on the back. So for now we're just going to do everything hand tight, get the tuner in, put the washer on, keep it relatively straight, it don't matter so much at the minute, just do it sort of hand tight. Repeat that for all of them. Flip them over and then line up the little holes there on the tuner with the screws, and then tighten them in. And just make sure your tuner's nice and straight. Just make sure everything's as straight as it will go. These guide holes weren't exactly the best placement, but 10mm socket or a spanner, and just tighten them up. Just give them a little tweak, they don't need to go mad. Tuners on. So now we're just left with the string trees. So you get these little spacers, large one and a smaller one. The large one goes there for the D and the G string, and the smaller one is for the B and the high E string. So you've got these little string trees. Just make sure they're sort of facing down so the strings can wrap underneath them. Now these are normally quite fiddly, and when you've got large hands like myself, it can be a bit of a pain. So we'll make sure we'll get it lined up. Oh, we're in. Headstock done. So next step is going to be bolting the neck up. So just do a little dummy run, make sure everything lines up, because this pick guard looks like it sticks over a little bit. So this is why we didn't want to put all the screws in just yet, so I'm just going to remove these screws. Right, so just need a little tweak over, so that should be pretty much good to go. But now some of our holes ain't going to line up, which is a bit of a bummer, but we can get around that anyway. We can put some more pilot holes in. Okay, so I think we're good. I'm just going to put 1 or 2 screws back in, just so I can flip it over. So in the kit you get 4 neck screws, you get a neck plate and this little black plastic piece which goes behind the neck plate. I don't particularly like using them, so I'm going to leave it off. Now make sure all your holes line up, because there's pre-drilled holes in the neck. Make sure they're lined up and screw it all in. Personally, I only ever use a screwdriver. I never use power tools on neck bolts because they can easily strip out and you'll have a very bad day. So just get them all lined up. Again, just double check everything lines up properly in terms of your neck. Make sure there's no gaps in your neck pocket. And then we screw them down. If you feel any resistance or it don't feel right when it's going in, that's what she said. Just double check it again. Neck is on. Yeah, that's looking pretty darn good. So what we'll do now is screw this pickguard down as best we can. See where it all lines up. It looks like we're going to have to drill a couple of pilot holes here and there, but we should be good. Basically the same process as when you did the guide holes for the pickups. Just don't go too far in, really thin drill bit. Yeah, couple of holes, that's that on. We'll get the bridge on, stop tail piece, and then we'll put some strings on. We need to put the strap buttons on, so you get these little felt washers, you get the strap button, you get these longer screws, feed all that through. Okay, so we've put the strings on, tuned it all up, use the stock strings, all in tune. Right, so what we need to do now is set the guitar up. So we need a capo, we need a Allen wrench, also I use one of these string action rulers. You can use feeler gauges, but I just quite like using these. And then we just need a flat bladed screwdriver and a small Phillips head. So what we need to do is capo on the first fret, put it on the actual fret, make sure it all rings through okay. And we get our Allen wrench ready. So for the string action ruler, I set the neck relief, so you want a bit of a bow in it, to 0.03 millimeters on the 8th fret. So you've got the capo pressed down, and then I press down on the first fret that meets the body. And on the 8th fret, I want it at 0.03 millimeters, so it just needs a little bit of a tweak. Don't turn too much because you only need fine adjustments. And that is pretty much where I want it to be. Yep, 0.03 mil. So that's the action set. And then we go to string height. So on a 12th fret, I want to be on the low E string, 1.5 millimeters is how I like to set these up, which ain't far off, and 1.25 millimeters on the high E string. Again, just a little tweak. So to adjust these on your bridge, just either side you've got these little flat bladed screwdrivers, and then you adjust them to either raise or lower the bridge. So I'm just going to quickly tweak that and then we'll get onto the intonation. Right, so now we're going to set the intonation. Just make sure every step you take in, you tune the guitar back up just to make sure you've got an accurate reading. So for the intonation, you need a small Phillips head screwdriver. You've got a little screw just on the back side of the bridge. And then what you want is obviously the guitar tuned. So E string, and on the 12th fret, you want the octave of the E string to match up, so you want them both in tune together. So what you need to do, if it's a little sharp, a little flat, you adjust the screw to compensate. So open string in tune, and then the octave string, you want them in tune together. Simple as that. So I'm going to go through, do all these. One more thing I'll mention is the stop tail piece. Now I like quite a bit of tension in the string, so if you lower this down you'll get more tension, raise it you'll get less tension. I've pretty much got this set flat down and just want to make sure that the strings on the back of the bridge don't vibrate, but we're all good. So that is screwed flat to the body. Next thing we need to concentrate on is the pickup height. Now I don't have a set measurement for this, I've been doing it so long setting guitars up. This is yeah, I just do it by sight and by sound. Now I like the pickups to be as close to the strings as I can without them magnetising, where you can see them warbling where the magnet pulls a string in. So basically I set the bridge first, and then with the neck pickup I do the same, but you want to make sure you got an equal volume between the neck and the bridge pickup, so there's not a big jump in sound. So once you've done that, you're pretty much good to go. So I'm happy the way this is set up, and I reckon the next thing we should do is plug her in and give her a little test run.